Welcome to What's Your Story? I'm your host, Charlie Timmons, and every week I bring you a guest that's genuine and authentic with practical information that you can apply to your business or your professional life. And today is no different. We're going to go someplace where most people don't know too much about, but right now it's a very hot area in the business community. My guest today is Fred Kaplan, certified mergers and acquisitions professional and partner at a group called the Stony Hill Advisors. And first of all, welcome, Fred.
Hi, Charlie. Nice to be with you.
Good to see you, Fred. Fred, the audience may be curious about what is it that you do as this certified manager and acquisitions professional. So why don't you go into that if you would?
Sure. I'm a mergers and acquisitions intermediary. And what that means is our profession has really three tiers. Those of us who are known as business brokers tend to work on small deals, those valued at $1 million or below, while investment bankers work on large deals, those valued at over $100 million, and also with publicly traded companies. M&A intermediaries, like the team at Stony Hill Advisors, focus on the lower middle market, which are private company transactions valued between $1 to $100 million.
So exactly who do you serve?
So I serve both business owners who want to sell and business owners who are looking to buy. Essentially, we provide four services. First and foremost, we help owners sell to an exit. So we value their company, we package it, and we market that company to potential buyers. Secondly, we represent what we call the buy side, companies who want to acquire other companies to expand. We help them find that needle in the haystack based on very specific selection criteria, and we help arrange financing for that purchase. Third, we connect business owners with investors, because sometimes they don't want to exit from their business, but they want some capital to help them grow. And that may be individual investors, private equity firms, family office portfolios, other ways that they could monetize the equity in their business. And fourth, we provide exit value planning, which is a coaching service to help an owner increase the value of the business. And it really applies to any business, regardless of the exit strategy or the timeline in that exit.
Fred, I read recently that there's probably more than 1 million businesses for sale or people contemplating. Is that an accurate number?
Yes, it's a huge number. In fact, many economists have alerted us in the profession to expect what we call the silver tsunami. Many baby boomers who are reaching retirement age and will be selling their businesses. So we're anticipating in the next couple of years to have a very large supply of businesses for sale, which, of course, when you look at supply and demand factors in economics, will tend to depress the values of those businesses.
Fred, I would imagine that there's lots of people in this space competing with you. If there's that many business opportunities, that there are probably lots of other firms that are trying to get their head in the sort of the dog food bowl, if you will, and take their bite of the pie. So what makes your firm different?
A couple things. First, I approach my work as helping business owners create life-changing events. You know, while I certainly guide them to sell their companies or buy additional ones, I never lose sight that I'm really helping them to live out their dreams.
Okay.
Sometimes that dream is to exit with the funds for the next life chapter, which might be retirement, or it might be buying another business. Sometimes that dream is to build a larger organization. You know, another way we differentiate ourselves is through professional certification. You can see behind me the badge for the CM&AP certification, Certified Mergers and Acquisitions Professional. There are only about 215 of us throughout the entire country who have achieved this type of certification. So that's how we differentiate ourselves in the marketplace.
So that gives you, the buyer or seller of the business, a sense that they're dealing with somebody that's well schooled in how these things should go down. So
Yes,
you mentioned
it
before
required significant training in order to achieve that certification.
You mentioned earlier 4 areas that you play in, but could you dive down a little bit for me and talk about the clientele you serve?
Sure. It's a little bit different on the sell side and the buy side. So on the sell side, which represents about 3/4 of our practice, my clients are the owners of lower middle market companies, those valued between $1 to $100 million. Those owners who know they want to sell in the near term will hire us for an exclusive 1-year engagement to manage the process of selling the business. Those who want to exit in a longer time frame may hire us for exit value planning to coach them toward maximizing the value of the company for an exit in the future. Now, an owner is often confronted with decisions that may have different solutions if you are focused on maximizing your exit value instead of maximizing current operating profit. For example, an owner focused on operating profit may forego updating all software. After all, why pay an upgrade fee if the incremental benefits to the upgrade are minimal? But to maximize your exit value, it may pay to invest now and upgrade that software. If you want buyers to consider your company as a premium target that earns a premium valuation, you don't want them to have doubts about the strength of the assets they would acquire. In fact, these doubts create 2 discounts to your value. First, there's a tangible discount for the cost the buyer would incur to upgrade, implement, and configure the software in my example. Plus, there's an emotional discount in the buyer's mind, wondering what else is not up to date. To use an analogy of buying a home, is there rotten wood behind the new wallpaper? So exit value planning can really help a buyer position that, a seller can position that company for a maximum value at sale time. On the buy side, it's a little bit different. My clients are executives, some who have sold a business, maybe retired, now want to unretire and buy a new business, or they're investors or other companies looking to acquire a lower middle market business. And they will hire us either on an exclusive or non-exclusive basis to find that right fit company to buy based on very, very targeted selection criteria.
Fred, these can be very complex transactions. My sense is in listening to you that you have a real grounding in business. Could you give the audience a little sense of your journey? Because you didn't wake up graduating from Cornell University saying, I want to work at Stony Hill Advisors. But you've had a lot of experience, Fred. I'd like you to share that. And the other thing is, why did you choose this line of work at this stage of your career?
Okay. Let me start with the background, because that may actually answer the second question also. I've been fortunate to have a broad career, a number of different positions, but I think when you look at the pieces of it, they do seem to be aiming toward a destination where I am right now. You know, I've often found through a career of consulting that you need to have both in-depth knowledge of the area where you're consulting, but sometimes having a broad knowledge of related or interrelated business issues can even be more valuable. So, and I think that's what really helps me serve my clients today. So after earning an economics degree from Cornell University, I worked in general management roles in the insurance industry. And then I received my MBA in finance from Drexel University and was recruited to join an insurance subsidiary of GE Capital, the financial arm of General Electric Company. When that company was sold a few years later, I moved into the investments sector, managing teams performing accounting for mutual funds. rising to vice president and chief accounting officer of an investment advisor and broker-dealer. Now, when that company was sold, I moved to the technology industry as a corporate controller, and later joining a regional public accounting firm as a consulting CFO for a portfolio of clients in various industries, including engagements involving M&A transactions. This consulting experience led to a position leading a regional consulting and staffing practice of nearly 100 finance and accounting professionals who performed projects for Fortune 1000 clients. When the number of our firm's projects declined during the Great Recession of 2010, I consulted independently for a few years and then joined a global CPA firm to lead business development efforts to grow the greater Philadelphia market. I love that work, but I missed the client engagement, since after cultivating a relationship over time to win a new client as the business developer, I would have to pass on that relationship to a tax or audit service professional who would be the person performing the work going forward. So I've been involved in a number of business sales and acquisitions over the years, and now have the best of both worlds as I spend my time developing new client relationships and managing their sales or their acquisition actions.
Yeah, that's an interesting story or journey that you've had, because you've been with companies that were sold. You know what goes through the workforce. You know what the owner who's selling the business, what's going to happen to their people, and what measures can be taken to help make that transition a smooth one.
I think that helps a lot. You know, I have the financial background to perform the business valuations and calculate seller discretionary earnings and do a discounted cash flow analysis. But I think that having the experience of my company being sold and dealing with the emotions of the team and the logistics and complexity of that process enables me to not just represent the buyer as a advisor, but also being able to sort of share the emotions of, you know, when that owner is having to deal with selling their baby, you know, the company that they grew and nurtured and raised over many, many years, and the source of most of their family wealth. You know, most business owners, while they may have investments, studies show that 80 to 90% of their total family wealth is tied up in their business. So it's a very, very emotional and personal decision to sell that business and walk away to something else. I think I can help them through beyond just the financial analysis part of the work.
Fred, we're coming up on a break, but could you very quickly share a recent engagement that you had to give the audience a sense of how things transpired?
Sure, I'm working on right now with a buyer who had exited from a IT staffing company and now wants to acquire another one. So after very narrowly defining what he wants to look for, we developed a target list of over 125 companies that fit his criteria, and then began filtering them one by one to identify those that really met cultural and other aspects of what he's searching for. And we're now at the point where we are having initial conversations to see if there's a cultural fit, diving deeper into their activity, so we can determine whether it would be appropriate to offer a letter of intent to buy the business.
How long does that transaction usually take, Fred?
Both buys and sells can take anywhere from 6 to 12 months. It's time consuming to develop the target list. You can imagine emails and phone calls to each target before you can determine whether they're of a mind to sell at the present time, whether they have the right attributes. Then we have the feeling out period. We have the due diligence, which can take a few months with attorneys and accountants and bankers and other people involved. So 6 to 12 months is a pretty common time frame from start to finish.
Is it fair to look at things like your success rate? I mean, somebody hires you to get a deal done. I'm sure all this doesn't depend on you. A lot of factors in play. But what's the sense?
Yeah, that's really important because our industry tracks statistics like that. And believe it or not, it turns out that only about 30% of businesses offered for sale actually sell.
Wow.
And that may seem to be very striking. And
Absolutely.
it's really concerning because it's often driven by a disconnect between the seller and the marketplace.
Got it.
So one of the things I'm very, very proud of is that our success rate at Stony Hill Advisors is near 80%
Wow.
of the sales that we take on actually get sold.
Fred, I want to come back to that after the break, but we need to hear from our sponsors at the moment. So I'm here with Fred Kaplan from Stony Hill Advisors. We'll be back in a few minutes to follow up on what Fred just said about their success. See you shortly. To What's Your Story? I'm Charlie Timmons, your host. And today we're meeting with Fred Kaplan. He is in the mergers and acquisitions business, the buy and sell of companies. And he was just telling us about the incredible track record that his organization has relative to the industry. So Fred, you had a very interesting journey in your own career, and then you pivoted, if you will. And why do you do this? Why did you pick this line of work? What was it that really attracted you?
I think it's the opportunity to really help business owners achieve their dreams and their goals. You know, I mentioned before that our success rate is far above the industry average. And the difference, I think, is because we purposely invest time and effort up front to analyze the opportunity. There are competitors of ours that will take an opportunity and advertise it and hope that there's an active buyer scrolling the internet to find that opportunity. But we will perform a business valuation at no charge before we even enter into a contract with a client. We want to make sure that both of us are on the same page regarding the value of the business, the size of the market for buyers of that type of business, and the time it will take to complete the transaction. We recognize that to succeed, we and our client need to have the same expectations. Same thing for buyers.
Fred, I know you as
I empower them to grow their companies to new heights.
Fred, I know from my research that you're known as a connector. Could you talk a little bit about that, how that influences your ability to help your clients?
Absolutely. I think that is a key part of why my clients choose to work with me, because I love finding that common ground between people and helping them see that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. I'm really an intermediary by title and by function. It's a fabulous feeling when I'm able to match the buyer and seller that are the right fit for each other. It's like solving a complex puzzle. There's the excitement from managing a team who are working together to accomplish a group of challenging tasks, and the gratification that both parties will walk away as winners, each getting something out of the deal.
I would imagine that buyers and sellers have certain expectations when they enter into a relationship with you. What are the outcomes that they're looking for, or the outcomes that you provide for them?
Well, just about anybody can advertise a business for sale, but that strategy only connects with other parties who are actively searching. So over the years, I've built an extensive network of business leaders. For example, I have 10,000 LinkedIn connections.
How many?
10,000.
Wow.
I've been at this for 15 years since LinkedIn was first developed. And that puts me in the top 1% of all LinkedIn users. And I use the tool very consistently. But that network allows me to contact the passive candidates, those who are not actively seeking a transaction, but might see the benefit when I bring it to them. Now, I also sit on the boards of several trade and charitable associations, and those roles connect me personally with many of those leaders. So our special value is the value in our personal networks that can connect buyers and sellers who may not be actively looking to find each other.
Today we hear a lot of talk about value propositions. I like to approach it from the angle of what are clients telling Stony Hill that the value to them in working with your group?
An M&A transaction is a complex transaction that takes a long time. As I said before, 6 to 12 months. When you consider all the steps like performing a business valuation, packaging and marketing the business, identifying and filtering the targets, performing a due diligence, structuring the deal, coordinating with attorneys and accountants, negotiating the terms, and keeping everybody engaged. So my key role is I'm a pusher. I expedite, I facilitate, and I motivate. You know, there's a saying in our profession that time kills all deals, meaning they lose momentum the longer they linger. So I am at heart a project manager. I try to minimize what my clients must do for the transaction, since they need to keep their companies running at peak performance, both buyer and seller. So I push that project along, coordinating multiple moving parts, juggling many balls, and guiding our efforts toward hopefully a prompt finish.
So what is the greatest compliment that you've heard given to your firm from one of your clients?
That we provide a caring experience, that we can do the technical side of it, but we also can perform the human side. We understand how letting go of a business can be exciting to a seller getting ready to fund that retirement, but it can also be difficult because you're leaving behind coworkers for many years. And you're also trusting the buyer to treat those people that you've taken care of for so long, to treat them well going forward. So I think we're successful at knowing when to hold hands and be soft, and when to negotiate hard and be tough.
Talk about legacy, because I hear a lot of that word in the selling of a company.
Sure, many business owners come to become known as the CEO of the business, the owner of that business. It's part of their identity. And so in some cases, an owner will sell 100% and exit. In many other cases, there might only be a partial sale, and the owner will stay on for a number of years.
Okay.
It enables them to preserve their legacy, to help manage an orderly transition, so their employees and their clients and customers will be well cared for.
Well, so I can understand where that empathy and compassion from your end is going to be very valuable in getting a deal done. Fred, we're out of time. We could talk much longer on this topic. But this is the time in the show, Fred, where I make available to you an opportunity to look into the camera and speak to the audience about anything that you'd like them to know about you and Stony Hill.
Thanks. Well, Charlie, I really appreciate the opportunity to be on your show.
My pleasure.
Gotten to know you over a long time, and you've always been an insightful interview partner. For those who are viewing the show, I'd like to offer a complimentary analysis with the Stony Hill Advisors Exit Map. The Exit Map is an online assessment tool to show how close or how far an owner is to being ready for an exit. The Exit Map is a questionnaire. It only takes about 15 to 20 minutes to complete. and it will reveal where you stand along the several pathways to prepare your business for sale. So just contact me at the email address at the bottom of the screen. I'll be happy to walk you through the process, and then afterward, and help you interpret the results.
Fred, I want to thank you for making that offer to my audience. It's
My
very
pleasure.
important. And I wish you much luck in helping fulfill people's dreams of either selling or buying. Thanks so much, Fred.
Thank you,
And I want to
Charlie.
thank the audience for listening to Fred today. Every week I bring you guests who are genuine, they're authentic, they share information that can be very valuable to you in your personal and your professional life. So I wish you a good week. We'll see you here next week for What's Your Story?